Not all forms of wealth are created by your title, your income, or your investments. Some are created through the impact that you have as a husband, father, and leader. Today, I'm sitting down with Jon Bronstad, a man who has achieved wealth in many categories of life as a high-level executive, devoted husband, and a father who transformed himself and his family culture by prioritizing what truly matters most. Jon's story proves that relationships we build define our success at home and in business. Through deep personal change, Jon confronted his past, broke destructive patterns, and learned to be fully present. Now his transformation is a lesson in how strong connections can reshape our families, our work, and our future. And if you are ready to build true wealth in all areas of life, the kind that strengthens your family and fuels your purpose, keep listening and let's get into the show.
Dude, how are you, by the way? I feel like I haven't sat and had a proper drop-in with you. It's been a little bit. I mean,
it's been a busy season, Jon.
Yeah.
It's been a really busy season this year as we kick off 2025, but in the most dynamically positive way.
Yeah.
And as we head into March now, there's a lot of things where I'm able to pass some stuff back off at work, and I just feel this weight coming off my shoulders and being able to get back into the season of focusing on the family.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that.
What is the busiest time of year for a company like Mulk?
So there's always the planning and budgeting in the late summer, early fall, but kicking off the year is always, you want to make sure you start right.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you're kicking off. People are starting the healthier trends to their lives and their diets and their consumption in Jan, Feb. So as a healthy brand, you want to be at the front end of that.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders and it's all attention into it.
Yeah.
And we had a season where we were going through some executive changes. So I was wearing multiple hats to begin the year, almost 3 of the executive team hats for most of the beginning of the year. And I was ready for it.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity. I actually had a session with Samson back in January that just opened me up to a point where it's like, okay, it's go time and let's rock and roll.
Yeah. How is Jon 2025 different than Jon 2015?
70 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
No longer drinks.
Yeah.
And is actually present with his family instead of just focused on what's the next title or job that I can get. So it's a radically different Jon on the inside.
Yeah.
Outside, people might think it's the same person, but my internal drive is so drastically different than a decade ago.
How's that feel?
It's amazing. I have the connection with my bride that I've always prayed for. It's the marriage that I've always wanted. It's the marriage we've always wanted. It's being present with my kids in a way that I'm able to trade emails with my daughter. My son is like, Dad, I missed you over the last couple of days. And to be in a space that they are able to articulate their true feelings and not feel that they've got to give Dad the answer that Dad wants, it's special, man.
Yeah.
It's special.
Dude, I was so happy to read that message that you shared with me. Like, dude, I think I responded. I was like, that's the greatest form of wealth in the world. Like, the richest that I could ever feel would be to receive such words of affirmation and love and safety, and that's something that I don't think every human gets a chance to experience, sadly.
As my heart's been open, as my soul's been opened up over the last 5-6 years, in large part because of Front Row Dads, and thank you for that. Thank you for the gift you've given my family. But through the work Melissa and I have done through counseling.
Yeah.
And, it's work. And to get to where we want to be in life, if you're putting in the work, you have a chance to get there. But if you don't put in the work, you're going to be where you are.
Yeah.
So the work that we've put into our connection with each other, Melissa and I, but also with our kids, what you're referring to, my daughter emailed me yesterday as I was traveling home. And it started with, hey, Dad, I miss you. Look forward to you being home. And it gave me this opening to be like, you are an amazing child. You're an amazing person. And I know it's been a tough week. I've been up to date with what's going on and the challenges. And you're making progress. And at the end of the day, you are the perfect version of you today.
Yeah.
Period. And she just replied with basically, I love you, Dad. And that is wealth.
Yeah.
That trumps any financial metric in the world, is to have the heart full of that connection with my wife and my daughter. And when I got home, my son just jumped into my arms. That's life. That's
I love that,
man.
That's cool. How are your kids like you or not like you when you were a kid? Like around their age, how are you similar? How are you different?
I tell people that my son is me, and I tell people the story that maybe starting 7 years ago, I would call my parents and I would lead with, "I'm sorry." And my parents would go, "What happened? What's going on?" And I'm like, "Well, I now know what I must have been like as a child when I was 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. And now when I call and say I'm sorry, they're like, ooh, what did Holden do?"
Yeah.
And it's amazing to be able to sit there and reflect and go, wow, my parents dealt with this, and I turned out pretty okay. And I get this opportunity to learn, and it's taken time, man. Holden and I butt heads. Oh, God, do we butt heads. So we are so similar in that way that it's like we are headstrong, we are driven, we want what we want, and I don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it my way, and you can just get out of my way. So there's that dynamic, and we're very fortunate. Thanks to exposure through a lot of men in FRD, we found Acton Academy. So this year we shifted our kids over, and the way that Holden and Vivian have found to use their words to express and communicate versus what Holden has done, which is what I was as a child, was like just a fist clench, sheer anger, like just pent up. I'm going to blow up. I'm going to slam the door. I'm going to run. I'm going to stomp on the stairs. That was me. And now he'll be like, he'll ask me, "Hey, Dad, how do you feel when people tell you no?"
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a big question.
Dude, as a 8.5-year-old dropping that
big
truth on
question.
you, it's like, does that feel good, Dad? It's like, okay, it's coming.
Yeah.
So, and in that moment, I feel the inside start to boil a little bit. I'm like, how dare he question me? He should do what I say. And then I remember, he's just me. He is just 8-year-old Jason that's just trying to establish who he is as the younger sibling, as the one who wants to do different things, explore different things. I need to be open to that.
Yeah.
And he is that gift to my inner child to say, it's okay. He can have what you didn't have, or he can have what you wanted in a way that's different. He doesn't have to grow up the same exact way you did.
Exactly. Yeah. Gosh, I find myself with Ocean. He's so curious and he asks so many questions. And I value curiosity and I value questions, and I want him to question even authority, right? Like that's been a valuable skill for me, that just because you tell me something doesn't mean I need to do it. That keeps you safe in many ways and helps you remain sovereign. And so how do I want him to be curious and at the same time be like, stop asking so many questions and just do what I say? Because like, I want you to be curious, just not right now. Please, not right now. Not that curious. But go be curious with other people. But with me, when I tell you to do it, just do it. It's hard, man.
Had a long day at work. I don't want to go through this right now. Just do it.
That's it.
Please do it.
That's right.
Now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I find myself reaching my limit in that area. And sometimes when I bark a little too hard and I feel him shut down or feel like shame for it, or he kind of rolls his shoulders over. And that's not what I'm after. I'm not trying to crush his spirit, but dude, like he tests my patience. And I'm glad he does, man. I'm glad he's got the confidence to question me at times. Like that'll serve him in his life. Yeah.
To give our children the opportunity to live a different childhood than we did is gold. And to make sure that we are changing the dynamic, hopefully for the good.
Yeah.
Some of it, look, every parent screws up. Can we screw up differently than our parents?
Yeah.
And I'm blessed with some amazing parents. And there's ways that I want to raise my kids differently.
Yeah.
Both can be true.
Tell me some of the things that your parents did that you loved, and maybe some things that you wish were different.
You're a driven man, you lead at work, you hustle to provide, but deep down, you know that success at home matters most. The question is, are you leading there with the same clarity and purpose? At Front Row Dads, we totally get it. Juggling business and family is not easy, and that's why we created FRD Engage, a 5-week experience designed for men like you, fathers, husbands, leaders who refuse to settle. This is more than a course. It's a live online journey with real dads, real conversations, and real change. You'll walk away with a clear path to deeper connection with your wife and kids, tools to align your business with your family values, daily habits that create lasting change, clarity and confidence to lead your family with purpose. You don't need to figure this out alone. You'll join a brotherhood of men raising the bar together. Don't wait for a wake-up call, because if you're not leading at home, who is? Go now to frontrowdads.com to learn more. That's frontrowdads.com to learn more. Join us and step fully into the role that only you can play.
So both of my parents worked, and I never felt like we didn't have what we needed. Like, we always had whatever we needed. It might have been not been the newest or the shiniest, but we never were wanting for things. So I feel very blessed in looking back in that. My parents were always present. They showed up at the PTA meetings, the parent-teacher meetings, the football games, the band concerts. They were always present. We were pretty good at least 4 to 5 nights a week of having dinner together. So, I mean, it was always sitting around the table. And so we were always together. And at the same time, we had, I'll never forget, we had this little black and white TV that we'd put on the bar stool right next to the table and watch Wheel of Fortune during dinner. And that was so cool.
Yeah.
So, yes, we were together, and we had this technology, and it was Wheel of Fortune. So we were also distracted, right? So we had our community of our family. And I'm one of 14 grandkids on one side and one of 4 on the other. So we have big family expansion.
Yeah.
And we had that opportunity. They were our community. It was, hey, we're going to go hang out with cousins or aunts and uncles, grandpas, grandparents, go to my grandparents' lake house. So family was our community. And that was always our go-to. And I'm grateful for that, man.
Yeah.
It's when we have family reunions, there could be up to 100 people show up.
Wow.
So family's always been important.
Yeah.
I didn't ever learn how to build connection outside of family until much later in life.
Like in your 20s type of?
30s.
30s.
Like, there were people I'd work with, but to
Yeah.
truly be vulnerable and let people in and truly connect took me a long time, because there's family and there's work, and then that's it.
And what's also so interesting, man, is that that's actually, today, as I know you, is like part of your brand. It's so likable, so easy to connect with, so vulnerable, so courageous, like all the things, like solid dude. Would want him in my corner, love that guy. You know, the reverence that people have for you is remarkable. And I wanted to say that not only to honor you and the truth that I see, but also to speak to the evolution of a human. And that as a parent, to sometimes remember that just because your child is a certain way now doesn't mean they're going to be that way in their teens or in their 20s or in their 30s, because we're all on our own path, and we got to kind of get there when we get there. And so it's all not going to happen. Sometimes I want Tiger to be as advanced as a 45-year-old, human, talk like them, act like them, be as responsible, manage his emotions that way. And I'm remembering that he's 15. And there's things I'm figuring out at 49 that have taken me 30 years to get to the place where I'm even touching, a place where I'm proud in that emotional intelligence arena.
And you're continuing to grow.
Yeah.
I was on a Zoom with an FRD this morning, and I made a statement that they laughed at. And I shared a story. So my band here in Austin, at the end of the year in December, we're walking around Town Lake, and David asked a credible question. He said, "What are you going to leave behind?" And my heart sang out instantaneously, self-doubt. And the FRD this morning went, "You're kidding, right?" I went, "I have more self-doubt than you could ever imagine." And once I expressed that verbally and said, I'm going to leave self-doubt behind as the quality of a father, as a quality of a leader, as a quality of a human, I'm not going to let that cloud who I am anymore.
Yeah.
I have had the best start of the year ever, Jon. And it's it's interesting because we all have the things that we keep inside. And once we're in the space where we have the community where we can articulate that, verbalize it, and be vulnerable, wow, it's freeing.
Once you make that statement, right, I'm going to leave self-doubt behind,
Yeah.
is there a process, a ritual, a habit that keeps that top of mind for you?
For me, it's
Or the integration piece, right? Like, how do you live it out, not just say it?
the most important thing that I did after that is any time that I started to doubt myself, it's like, nope, said I wasn't going to do that this year. And it was just sheer will to say, no, I said that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's to carry forward. And it takes integration, it takes work, it takes understanding why we have self-doubt. And I referenced the somatic breathwork with Samson in January, and I've been blessed with have that experience multiple times where there's trauma. I mean, we are fighting the traumas, big T trauma, little t traumas of our childhood.
Yeah, big time.
Why do we hold on to those? What is it? And really what that session was 3 weeks after I made that statement. And what I went into is trying to understand, why do I always have friction with Holden? Why do I have friction with my son? Because he is just like me. And what I got out of that session was, it's okay for him to be happy because you were actually happy as a kid. Your dad was happy as a kid. Your grandpa was happy as a kid. Happiness is okay. So instead of trying to make him to be a 45-year-old man, as I turn this year, it's like, let him be a kid. And to identify and just be aware of the moments. I got home last night from a trip. He grabbed the football. He's like, hey, Dad, you want to go play? You want to go throw the ball? I'm like, not in the backyard. You haven't cleaned up the dog poop yet. I'm like, how about the front? He's like, there's not as much room. I'm like, the street? He went, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
So we went out and threw the ball for half an hour, and Vivian came and joined us for part of it, and it was just that connection.
That's cool.
And it was saying yes. Instead of going, you know what, I've been traveling for 3 days. I just want to put my happy ass on the couch, sit down, and relax. My heart needed to go throw that ball with him.
Yeah.
My heart needed to see that smile. I needed to smile.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
How would you articulate your view on parenting right now? Like, what makes a great father is?
Presence, genuine presence. It's not just physical presence. We can all be physically present, but how often do we set the phone aside? How often do we actually listen? Because what's the question behind the question? When your children say, hey, can we play a game during dinner? Dude, I just want to eat. Come on. And he wants a connection.
Yeah.
So what is it that he's asking for? What is it that Vivian needs? What is she seeking?
Yeah.
When she emails me in the middle of a school day because she just wants to connect, she wants to feel heard. So how can I make sure that I honor that and respect that and be present with her? That's hard.
Yeah, big time.
We have so many conflicting priorities in this world. There's to our spouses, to our children, to our families, to our professions.
So much to juggle.
There's a lot to juggle. And then what is that glass ball? Because there's rubber balls and glass balls. And I love this expression I learned a long time ago. It's like, never, ever let the glass ball drop. And John, I've let that glass ball drop too many times. So my intention, my word of the year this year is momentum, with a supporter word of hygge, or the Scandinavian word for happiness, and just contentment with what you have.
Yeah.
So we want to build positive momentum in our lives and honor that what we have is great.
Yeah.
We don't need more. Let's be aware of what we have, be present with
So
it,
good.
and love it.
A couple of things came up for me as you're sharing. The first one is we give some love and some props to Seth Daly, who hosts that one word party every year where, Front Row Dad families here in Austin can go to his house and paint their one word together. And that's been awesome to see. And it's been very, very cool. So I wanted to share some love, for Seth, because what a guy who just opens up his home and loves on people, and stellar human. And also to his wife, Alice, who credit to her as well, and their whole family. It's just amazing. Another thing was this idea of, you talk about being seen, like Vivian being seen. When I was at this 10-day silent meditation retreat recently, I had been walking with the question one afternoon. I was able to pace this 100-yard path of it back and front. I wasn't hiking through the woods. It was this little path in front of our dorm. And I was walking up and back, and I thought, what's my philosophy as a dad right now? If I had to sum it up in 3 things, right? What do I want to be my guiding principle in every conversation with my kids? Like if I had a checklist, what would it be? And I either want to say this or have them feel it in every conversation. One is, I love you. I want to either say that or have them feel it in every conversation. Number 2 is, I see you. And to me, the I see you is like, I see you working hard. I see you I see you hurting. I see you like whatever it is, I just see you. And then I want to have that be the essence of the conversation. And then I believe in you, meaning I have a vision for your life. I think you can get there. You have what it takes. I want you to know that, so these 3 things, I want them to know that they're loved, that I see them for who they are, and I believe in their path and that where they can go. And that just felt like, as soon as I said that out loud to myself, and I've got a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I've never had that framework be so clear to myself. I've probably felt each of those things over the years, but I thought if there were only 3 things, I'd want it to be those 3.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man.
It's fun as a dad, to kind of come up with things throughout the years, because I think as an early dad, I was asking that question a lot, like, what do I want to be my guiding principles? And I think it's hard to answer those questions sometimes early on until you're in the mission for a while. And then after you have all these conversations with other great men and fail as a dad and succeed in some places and try to have some level of awareness in your life, you can land in these, what feel like frames that I can live within.
I love that.
Yeah. So to play that out practically, I was in the hot tub with Ocean yesterday, and he wasn't feeling great, took a day off from school, and mid-afternoon, I was like, let's go sit in the hot tub, buddy, and connect. So we got in the hot tub, and I was like, I jumped in, and I go, buddy, I looked at him, I go, I love you. I love you so much. And he goes, I love you, Papa. And then I said, I started asking him questions. I said, what do you think your superpower is? What makes you different than all your friends, right? Who's your favorite friend? What does that friend think is your superpower? What do you love about that friend? I just started peppering him with questions. I was like, I'm going to interview this kid like he's on the podcast, which I should probably bring him in sometime and talk with him on the show.
I would love for you to interview your kids.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I think it would be powerful to hear Tiger and Ocean speak.
I think it'd be really cool. So anyway, I just started peppering him with these questions, and then I wrapped with, so that was my way of seeing him, right? Like I was like, so I'd repeat some of that back. I was like, so you think your superpower is Fortnite, huh? What is that? Tell me why. Tell me why Fortnite. And then, because I was really challenging him, and then I would ultimately acknowledge him and talk about, I do think that's actually a skill that you can use in your life. He goes, you get to use my brain. I get to work as a team. I get to strategize. I was like, those are incredible skills that will serve you later on in life.
Teamwork, especially.
Yeah.
In a world where we've become more and more remote in everything we do, to have the teamwork and collaboration remotely on Fortnite, that will play into his benefit in the future.
I think it definitely has some benefit. It drives mom crazy more than it does me, but it is going to be a benefit. Speaking of awesome experiences with kids, I wanted to ask you to share a little bit about the adventure that you took overseas. Was that last year now? Or 2 years ago?
Yeah, summer of 23.
Okay. So tell me, I wanted to have you share a little bit about that, because I think travel is so important, and I think that creating these experiences with kids is so important. So this was an epic one for you, man, and I feel like that was just such a big win.
So it was a huge win, and much like you gave props to Seth, I want to give props to Dan Espigard, because the dream approach we've integrated in the family, and we integrated that back in 21. So my kids have listed out the places they want to visit. Melissa's listed out the places she wants to visit, and I have my list. So as Melissa and I do our annual planning, as we were leaving 22 going into 23, it's like, what will we do in 23? And it's like, it's time. One of my dreams was to work outside of Austin for 3 weeks. And we were having a conversation, what does our travel look like? And I said, we've got 2 choices. I can unplug for 7 to 10 days, or I can work remotely and we can go for up to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And Melissa's like, that's easy. You're working. So as we started to map it out, it's like, where do we want to go? So we ended up stopping at 3 cities in Italy and 2 in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So we did Lake Como, Florence, Rome, and then we went over to Valencia, then up to Barcelona.
Yeah.
So we did that over the course of 3 weeks, and
So cool.
we planned the cities, so we knew where we were going. I'd booked the flights, booked the Airbnbs, and then for Christmas that year, so this was a summer trip, Christmas of 22, we laid that out for the kids and said, okay, and we got them books for each city. It's like, what do you want to do? How do you want to explore these cities? What is of interest to you in each of these cities? So they wanted to go on the lake in Lake Como, so we rented a boat. They wanted to go to the Duomo. It's like, okay, the Duomo's got, 400 or 500 steps. What are we going to do to prepare? So we had 6 months to get ready. I mean, Vivian and I were rocking the stair climber at Lifetime Fitness, getting ready for it. So it's building that anticipation, that excitement.
Mission, yeah.
And then, what do you want to see in Rome? The Vatican looks amazing. Let's go to that. And then Valencia, then into Barcelona. So we used that opportunity, and Melissa's such an incredible gift giver. The way that she set it up to give the gifts for them to unveil what we were doing and the books that came with it set us up for 6 months of conversation and learning about each one of these unique areas. What do you want to eat when you're over there? What do you want to experience? And we get over there, and what we found is we loved the smaller cities. Like Lake Como, we were in the city of Bellagio, and we loved Valencia because we were able to integrate into the community.
Mm-hmm.
We felt like tourists with tourists in Florence and Rome and Barcelona. Yeah. And that was a great aha for us as a family, because even the kids were like, kind of like the smaller stuff, Dad.
Yeah.
So as we go forward, our intention is, you know what? Smaller cities as our base, and we can go pop into the big cities if we want, but let's go be part of the community. There's a really fun story in Valencia. So we were staying at this Airbnb right off the town square, and there was a restaurant at the bottom of it. And we had split up. Vivian and I were together, and then Melissa and Holden were together. And I said, hey, Vivian, one of my dreams on my dreams list is to buy out an entire restaurant. Should we do it here? And Vivian was like, okay, let's do it. So in my very, very, very broken Spanish, I was able to convey to the servers, like, I want to buy out the entire restaurant. There was like 7 tabs open. I'm like, I want to buy it all. She's like, for everybody? I'm like, yes, for everybody. And it was like, okay, what's this weirdo doing? And for Vivian and I, it's like, all right, that's cool. Check the box. We're done.
That's cool.
So this was one of the days I was working, though, John.
Yeah.
So, I was with the family from the time we woke up till about 3 p.m. And this was like at noon. So I go and I work. And they come up around 10:30 or 11, and they'd gone out and met with some friends we had there in Valencia. And they stopped back at the restaurant. And the waitress recognized Vivian. They pulled my family aside. They went out and got a white tablecloth for the table and treated them like absolute royalty because of that simple gesture. And it was never for that recognition. It was more just to have fun and do it because we could.
Yeah.
And they came up glowing. And my children got to see the power of giving and the impact it can have on people in general. Like, it is such a great gift.
Yeah.
Ray Bayet is one of the greatest gift givers I've ever met, and such an inspiration. So that a lot of that idea came from him. It's like, when you're in a different culture, go do something unique.
Yeah.
So I take so much from the men in our community, like great ideas that I can then take and give lessons to my kids.
Yeah.
It was so powerful. They came up, and it was unstoppable smiles.
That's so good, man.
It was beautiful.
And I honor you for that. And I think that concept of like giving is so powerful, and how that just creates a culture of giving. It ripples out in such beautiful ways.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because when I was younger, I think I used to buy the people's meal behind me, or like pick up more of even the little tab. Can I buy your coffee or whatever?
Yeah.
I haven't done it as much lately, and I'd like to get back to that. Did I ever tell you the story of Qasim and the coffee shop in Phoenix when I was visiting him?
No.
Okay.
Bring it.
So, dude, I'm in Phoenix, and we're doing our April event there. So I was just checking out some properties and looking around, and met with Qasim. Stayed at his house, actually, hung out with his kids. It was awesome. Met his mom, met his brother. Just so cool, dude, to be in his world. And one day we go out for a walk and we go to his favorite coffee shop, his local coffee shop. And when we walk in, apparently the computers are down. And so they can't take anybody's credit card. So people are kind of walking in and can't, whatever. And Qasim knows the people that the baristas, he knows them all because he goes there all the time. And he said, hey guys, he goes, is this the type of problem that like $1,000 in cash will fix? Like, could we just take care of some people? And they just look at each other like confused, like, I guess, yeah, we could just take cash. Like, we don't. Qasim goes, hang on a second. We walk down to the ATM. He pulls out some money, and we walk back, and he just hands it to him. He goes, let's just get all these people their coffees. And we sat at that restaurant, at that coffee shop for probably a couple hours. And for a couple of hours, people went through that line, and about every 10th person, they would come over to our table and they would look at Qasim and they would say, thank you so much, man, that was really sweet of you, because the people would tell him what happened. And
Sure.
That guy over there bought everybody a coffee today. And Qasim just looked at me and he goes, that's the coolest. This is the thing I like most about having the financial resources to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's a very modest person. He lives very modestly, but that kind of stuff he loves to do. And that was so encouraging for me, man. And then, that had a big impact on me as a brother, watching another brother just be kind in the world, use his resources for cool things, fun things. And I think that the more that we get a chance to like do those things in front of our brothers, that impacts how we do things in front of our kids. And I think those are the stories that stick.
It's always the right time to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's always the right time to do the right thing.
That's a message
Well said,
I say to my kids all the time.
Yeah.
And you never know when it's going to be applicable.
Yeah.
But Qasim saw that as a moment. It's like, the right thing to do is this for these people.
What else do you think your kids are going to quote you on later in life? Like, what's the dad phrase?
Oh, goodness.
That when they're older, they're going to be like, Dad always said.
Load the dishwasher. Clean your room. Fold the laundry. One of the questions I've been asking of late is like, how are you going to add value? Mm-hmm. And I love the concept of adding value. And we got on one of the apps where they have a debit card and they can earn money. Mm-hmm. So when they want something, it's like, do you have the money for it?
Yeah.
So we have passed that on to them for their friends' birthdays and gifts and things of that nature. And for Valentine's Day, Vivian went and got Melissa and I gifts with her own money.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then Holden saw the way we reacted, and he went and made us stuff.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things that the positive benefit of showing your kids the right thing to do is that they will start to model it a lot earlier than you realize.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's beautiful because that's what will be ingrained in their brain, and they will continue forward with that. And that feeling, it's not the act, it's the feeling.
Right.
The feeling that they have when they see your reaction. And Vivian got me this acrylic thing just talking about a daughter's love for her father, and it's sitting on my desk at work. And I look at it every day. And I have that feeling every day.
Yeah.
Because I know my daughter's soul.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
What has either been one of your bigger regrets as a dad and or choose your own path here, looking ahead and preventative, like I don't want to get to my deathbed and look back and say whatever with regret, what might that be? And maybe I should have asked, like, does that motivate you?
So I'm going to go back. I have not chosen to be healthy most of my life. Mm-hmm. Most of my life, I would say from 22 to 39, I was well over 300 pounds on average. I'd fluctuate down. I'd binge diet. I'd drop down to 240, back to 280, 250, 300. But I didn't prioritize how I chose to nourish my body. Mm-hmm. And I know it impacted my kids early in their lives because they would watch Dad go grab 2 or 3 beers and put it down at the dinner table and drink those while I'm eating dinner and then probably have a bourbon thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to drinking. I've chosen to walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would eat just meat and potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't eat veggies, but I would tell them to eat veggies.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, do as I say, not as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've learned what's important for true health,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have started that earlier. And what's the saying? When's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. So going back to 2019, I started to eat better.
Mm-hmm.
I started to actually work out. I joined a jiu-jitsu gym. I started to show my body the love that I should have shown it my entire life. And I started to demonstrate what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to drag my family along with me. And I had the realization, John, that the best thing I can do is make sure I love myself first, because I didn't love myself.
Right.
I hated who I was. I hated what I saw in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I compensated with either food or alcohol or work success.
Yeah.
So what I regret early on is not showing my kids how important it is to love myself and for them to love themselves so they can actually go be their best version of themselves.
Mm.
And I still struggle with that today.
Yeah.
But I feel a hell of a lot better than I did 5 years ago, 4 years ago, or 3 years ago. And learning that I love who I am today. I love the choices that I'm choosing to make, because it's always a choice. To make those choices on a regular basis, you start to see the compounding effects and the benefits. And last night, after we threw football for a while, we went out and Melissa made dinner. And then Melissa's like, who wants to go for a family walk? And, Jason 10 years ago be like, good luck, go for the walk. It's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So Holden got on his bike. Vivian's like, threw on the headphones. She's listening to Spotify because music lights her up.
Mm-hmm.
Music lights Melissa up. What lights me up? Being in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So we're walking around the neighborhood last night at the most beautiful sunset, and we're out there moving our bodies, having conversation, and enjoying it. That's life, man. I love that. That just lit me up last night.
That's awesome. You're doing a lot of great work, man, and I see it, and I want to honor you for that. So well done. Your comment about nature created an image in my mind of you in the woods with the men, with the front row dad brothers. You took on a difficult task. Would that be safe to say?
We've done multiple of those, yes.
Yeah.
3 of those.
Can you take me into that world for a moment? Because I think that's such a cool thing, man. And again, I've said this to you before when I ask front row dad brothers who like is the epitome of like a front row dad that you aspire to be like, that you enjoy, that you respect, that you love, your name always comes up, which is awesome. And yeah, and you've really leaned in powerful ways. I know that you ask great questions. I know that you offer great reflections. I know that you are a guy who people want to be around. And that has led to you being out on some incredible adventures with the dudes. I don't know which one you want to talk about, but maybe you could talk about the power of being with men, being in nature, doing something physical, and the impact that's had on you, because I think more men would benefit from those types of experiences.
Yeah, let's go with the most recent one. So there's a group of us now that for 3 years we've done some type of an outdoor challenge or an adventure. And of no surprise, Ali's a part of it.
Yeah, no surprise.
He's an incredible human.
Yeah.
This year we went to Olympic National Park up in Washington. And it was, we set out our desire to go hike in, bring everything in, hike around, then hike out. So what we ended up doing was 35 miles with 5,000 foot in elevation gain in 46 hours.
Wow.
So hike in, camped, hiked around, slept another night, and then hiked out. And it was hard.
Wow.
It was freaking hard and beautiful. I mean, we challenged each other. We pushed each other. We supported. I mean, there were some unequivocal primal screams at points because the bodies hurt. The blisters from one of our brothers, like day one, 5 miles in, quarter-sized blister on the heel.
Jeez.
And he endured the entire time with that.
Yeah.
And we were shuffling as we were walking out. Like
Yeah.
those last few miles was just everything we could do to get out.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful because we were in community and we didn't, we talked.
Mm-hmm.
We talked probably 80% of the time, but we were also present in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get away from all the technology, the phones don't work, which is beautiful, and you're out there and you realize the world we live in is amazing. The trees are greener. The water's colder. You're out there in the middle of mountains. And you can sit there and breathe freely and go, we used to not have any of the modern technologies, and we survived. And we've made our lives comfortable. But there's something about being uncomfortable that really just opens the soul up.
It's comforting.
It is. So I grew up hunting
Yeah.
with my dad and my brother, and some of the happiest memories with those men were out there in the country.
Yeah.
It was being out there in nature. It's gathering wood for fires and building fires and just staring at the fire. And I love moving water and I love roaring fires because they're ever changing. And to be at peace in that area where you can just sit there and listen to the streams run by or watch that fire, it's a primal contact.
Yeah.
It's like I'm connecting with that version of myself from however many millennium ago.
Yeah.
But it's inside of all of us.
Yeah.
And there's just something comforting to be in a community of men. And we'll talk about the heaviest stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no topic that's off limits. And there's times that they'll hold space, and there's times they'll challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So nature's amazing.
Yeah, I think it should be, if there's a checklist for a man, like what would keep you healthy in all ways over the course of a year, I think one solid adventure into nature, where you experience all of what you just said, has got to be on that list, And I know there's varying degrees of how somebody could get that. I know that could be local, and a hike in the woods is super great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It could be a drive 2 hours from home and an overnight camping trip. It could be flying to a different state and doing something a lot more adventurous. But, dude, some type of rhythm with getting into nature with your brothers is got to be a part of the process.
As we look at these adventures, the mindset has become 50-50 we make it out of here.
Yeah.
Right? It wants to be challenging enough, like we could fail.
Yeah. Right.
Failure's real.
Yeah.
The first adventure was in the Beartooth Mountains of Montana. And we get to a point, and we had guides that we had hired, and we lost them.
So great.
And the question was asked, are we going to live?
Yeah. Yeah.
50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I've had a
So-
couple of those moments. Dude, I had a moment. That's such a great question, by the way, for a podcast. Is like, is there ever a moment when you question whether or not you were going to make it out alive? I had a moment in Mexico where we got dropped off snorkeling in this spot where the water was so powerful and moving in a way that I questioned whether I could make it to the shore. And I was starting to panic, which is not good, in the water.
Yeah.
But I felt like my life flashed before my eyes. And you can get very quickly to the point where you're like, it always works out. The truth is, it doesn't always work out. Like, I now have enough stories to where it doesn't always work out. And I think there's an interesting way to look at this, but it's like, I don't want to die. And I don't even want to put myself in a situation where I am close to dying. But what is the right amount of the danger? There is got to be some number for every human that's the comfortable risk that you're willing to take. Where you're like, there is a chance this will go wrong, but I'm consciously putting myself in this position so I can experience a little bit of that impermanence. I think it's so healthy. Yeah.
Amazing. And water is scary. Water is so powerful and so scary. So I love being next to it. Being in that turbulent water, not necessarily my favorite.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening today, fellas. If you got value from this episode, I ask that you take 1 second right now and you share this with another dad in your life that you respect, that you know is committed to becoming a better man, family man, and businessman. And on that note, I want to honor you for choosing growth. Your family will thank you years from now for all the effort that you're putting in to learn the strategies so you can show up more fully for them today. Take care.